pain, pain, and more pain. The Mets, back-to-back sweeps, this time in Atlanta against the Braves. And man, did they look awful again in these 3 games. Absolutely lifeless, like they didn't want to be there, like they've never played the sport of baseball before. Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome back to the Mets West podcast. My name is Eric Ames and I am sad today. The Mets went down to Atlanta after getting swept in a 3-game series at home by the Rays, and we all said, let's just hope they realize how important these games are, even though it's June, even though the Braves were at the beginning of the series 13 games back. Hopefully they pick it up a little bit and show some life in this series. And guess what? They didn't. Listen, I don't need to go into everything that went wrong, everything that looked bad, because if you watched the games, you know, I don't need to recap that here. It doesn't need to just be an episode where we all commiserate, and well, it's kind of going to be like that anyway. They're just sloppy. For 2 series now, they look sloppy, and it is reflected in their 0-6 record. Luckily, while I'm filming this episode, I have my emotional support Ray Ordonez figurine that I got in California randomly. I don't know why out of all the players, this is the guy they had, but I have him now. I'll put him back up here. Let's just start with the sloppiness, all right? Both series now, back-to-back series, the Mets just look sloppy. I don't know what other word to use. They look bad in the field. They look bad on the bases. Obviously, they look bad at the plate, but they've made a handful of dumb errors. So the most egregious one in this series was obviously Juan Soto. Okay, so Pete hit that ball out to right field. We thought it was going to be a 2-run homer towards the end of the game, and it died at the track. Well, it died at the wall, and Ronald Acuna Jr. made a fantastic play on it, not trying to discount his play, but I and everyone else probably thought that was going to be a home run. And of course, we'll get into the dead balls because we have an update on that. I talked about it in the last episode, but totally thought that was going to be a home run, and it wasn't. And then Juan Soto got thrown out at first because he was standing between first and second base with his arms up because I guess he couldn't tell if Acuna had caught the ball or not. So he said in the postgame that he was looking at the umpire. He's like, we rely on the umpires to make a call, and we look at the call and then we make our decision. But the umpire didn't make a call, so I was standing in between first and second base like, oh, is the ball caught or not? And on one hand, I get it. I do. But on the other hand, you got to make a decision. I mean, I think Pete knew it was caught. Antoine Richardson, the Mets first base coach, was waving him back to first base. But either way, it was a dumb thing, and he was caught between first and second, and I feel like he should have known what was going on and made a decision, and it was bad. In one of the games, in a moment where the Mets really needed a base runner, Pete got a hit, and he tried to stretch it into a double, and he got thrown out at second. Mendy said after the game, he was like, oh, I was fine with him trying that, but I was watching and I was like, I wasn't fine with him trying that. I mean, we needed a base runner and he got thrown out. Of course, then there was the balk call that ended up not being a balk at all. And in fact, it was Luis Torrens on a ball in the dirt, scooping up the ball with his mask. And everyone on the Braves, I mean, kudos to them for knowing the rules. I guess Brian Snitker really has them knowing the rule book of Major League Baseball. Every single player on the Braves is like, hey, he can't do that. He can't do that. And I'm sitting there, I've been watching baseball for like 20 years, and I'm like, he can't do that? I honestly didn't know you're not allowed to touch the ball with your... I mean, it makes sense. I just didn't know it was a rule until that happened. And it comes at a time where we're all thinking the same thing, which is Francisco Alvarez might have to go back down to AAA for so many reasons. And we need Luis Torrens to start every day because he's a pretty good hitter and he's such a good defensive catcher. And then, of course, he makes that absurd blunder, and it's so unlike him and out of character. And then there were just like random fielding errors throughout the series that it's almost like there's a hex on the Mets when they go into Truist Park, and it was only broken in that last series of the season last year when the Mets clinched the playoff berth, and it was amazing, and we all had a great time. Aside from that, what is going on when the Mets go to Atlanta? Let's talk about some injuries, starting with Francisco Lindor. He has that broken toe that's been lingering. He missed the first game after he got hit, and then he came back, and we all thought, okay, I guess he's fine, but he was 0 in this series against the Braves. Did not get a single hit, and I'm just thinking, what's the point of sending him out there every single day if he's not fielding to the best of his ability, which is obviously his biggest strength? He can't hit at all. Put him on the IL if he's going to be useless. And it's no slight to Francisco. I mean, he's my favorite player. I love him. But if you can't play, you can't play. And you might as well put Acuna in there, who has full range at shortstop right now. He can't hit either, so it doesn't really matter. And I don't want to see it turn into anything more major for Francisco. And honestly, I feel like Francisco Lindor playing poorly and playing injured affects the entire team. He is such the leader of this team, and he'll probably be named captain later this year. And I feel like when he is not right, the entire team isn't right. Like, Lindor doesn't just lead the team with words. He leads the team with action and his play and his grit and his grind. And he doesn't have any of that right now because he's injured. So my hypothesis is that because Francisco is hindered right now, the entire team is also just in a weird funk. And I don't know if he's hurt, put him on the IL. And speaking of injuries, let me read this message I got from my friend Alex Crigliano-Michelli in our Mets Discord chat. He said, "Let's remind ourselves that Senga, Manaya, McGill, Montas, Minter, Young, Kranick, Vientos, Winker, and Beatty are hurt." And I tend as a baseball fan to not think about injuries in this way because I'm always of the mindset when I'm sitting there watching the game, I'm like, all right, I don't know who this guy pitching is. They just brought him up. I've literally never heard of him, but you got to get it done, which I know it's fair and it's unfair. It's fair because, well, they're on the major league club now, so they should have the ability to play well to some degree. But it's also unfair because we don't have our best guys. But it's hard to play the injury card too often and for too long because every team in every sport goes through this, but especially baseball when the season is so long and players miss big chunks of time all the time. So it's hard to play that, but it is true. A lot of our good players are on the bench right now, hurt, and you just can't do anything about it. Like they got to find ways to win because you have guys like Lindor, Soto, Pete, Nimmo, who could carry the team, and they're not right now. And with every bad loss, every series loss, and at this point, every series sweep loss that the Mets go through, I keep thinking, what is it going to take for Eric Chavez to get fired? And listen, I know it might not all be his fault, but we've seen a pattern over the last few seasons, even when the Mets have made it to face the Dodgers in the NLCS, even whatever. Yes, they're not the worst hitting team in the league, but they're not as good as these players should be. Why hasn't Francisco Alvarez improved in the 3 or whatever seasons he's been on the major league club? He still has that massive uppercut swing. All you have to do is throw him breaking balls low out of the zone, and he cannot, for the love of God, lay off of them. He's only 23. Players can change, especially at that age. And I hate when people say players can't evolve, they can't change their play style later in their careers, because in this series, we've seen Marcell Ozuna, who I hate, by the way. We've seen him not be that free, wild swinger anymore, and he lays off pitches, he swings at good pitches, he gets hits now, he's a contact hitter, and you've seen Javi Baez in Detroit do the same thing. So Francisco Alvarez at 23, I'm not giving up on him by any means. He's got to figure it out, and I just wonder if there's someone else who could help him a little more. So yes, the pitching has regressed a little bit, like we all thought and knew it would, because players were overperforming, and that's fine. The Mets still lead the majors in ERA with a team ERA of 3.05, which is amazing. I love that. They've been going through some stinkers of games and they still lead in ERA. So in my mind, it's all on the hitters. It's all on their approach. I mean, there are just a lot of bad at-bats in these last few series. Something has to change. The approach has to be better up there. And I know the coaches are feeling it too. I know the coaches are aware. In fact, after one of the games, either game 1 or 2 in this series, I said to my fiance after the game, I was like, whoa, Carlos Mendoza seems mad for the first time since he's been the manager of this team. He's always very respectful with the reporters. He always answers their sometimes dumb questions, just very politely and very kindly. He seems like a kind guy. But after one of those losses, he was very snippy with them. He was just like a little short and a little curt. They were asking about Brett Beatty, right? And they were like, "Oh, is he going to be good to go tomorrow?" And we know that managers, they don't say things. They don't say yes, no, because then they don't give the answer, because then it lets the other team, oh, okay, Beatty might be in play. We have to consider him. So they always leave it vague, right? And Mendy was kind of like, I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. We'll see how he feels. His answers were just short and a little curt, and I kind of liked it because, again, he wasn't being mean to the reporters, but it seemed like, okay, he knows, not that we didn't think he knew that something was wrong, but it kind of proved to me watching, okay, the coaches are pissed. So who do we believe? Do we believe the doomers or the optimists with this team? Because there were some Reddit comments towards the end of the final game in this series that were just like, Edwin Diaz, Jeff McNeil, this guy, sell them all at the deadline. This team's not going anywhere. They're so cooked, whatever. Just people absolutely... I don't know how you're a sports fan, let alone a Mets fan, when you have that attitude. I mean, it's 162 games. You're going to give up on the team? I don't know. Maybe these people are like 15 years old and they just don't know how to handle it emotionally yet. But I'm like, okay, that's a little extreme. But on the other hand, you have the optimists, which I tend to be more optimistic as far as baseball fans go. And they're like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. Yeah, it's June. It's still June. The Mets are, even after this sweep, the Mets are 15 games over 500 and 10 games up over the Braves. It's fine, whatever. Everything's cool. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't go that far to say everything's fine, but I definitely lean more optimistic and think they will probably be fine. There are things that need to get better and need to be worked on. So if they can adjust, I mean, it's June 19th. It's not panic mode by any means, but also things are kind of bad right now. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. Tell me, are you an optimist? Are you a doomer? Are you somewhere in between? How do you think this affects the rest of the season going forward? Now, if you were to ask Braves fans, they would say the Mets are cooked, their season is doomed, they're toast, the Braves are coming back, NL East champions once again, and like I keep saying, in my opinion, it's fairly early in the year still, pre-All-Star break. They absolutely could. They could. It's going to be a climb back. I mean, they just took 3 straight from the Mets, but they're still 10 games back. But boy, would you think the situation is different if you read some of the comments I've gotten on TikTok. You know, I do these full-length YouTube episodes after every series, but after every game, I kind of just pick up my phone, go selfie mode, and I just talk about the game that just happened for like a minute and a half and just throw it up on TikTok, Instagram, whatever. And sometimes those videos will go beyond the Mets fandom and they will reach the opponent's fandom. And boy, did I get shredded to little bits and pieces by the Braves fans after that game 1 awful collapse. And I mean, it's fine. It's TikTok. It's the internet. People are mean and it's about sports. I don't take it personally. It doesn't reflect on me at all. I just find it hilarious that everyone's like, Mets gonna Met. Oh, here comes the collapse. And then, well, obviously you have the personal attacks on me, calling me all sorts of things. This one person said that because in that first game recap, Marcell Ozuna is the guy who got the big hit. And I just said something about his legal history and how I don't like him as a person because of that. And I called him an awful person, right? And someone goes, oh, it's crazy that somebody from New York is calling someone else an awful person. How wild is that? And I'm like, do you think everyone in New York is a bad person? I don't even understand that comment, but it's just crazy how these Atlanta fans are talking like they're still not 10 games back and they have to claw and fight their way back to even have the division in play. And like I said, they can. It's baseball. It's a long year. But right now, they're really not in a position to be talking shit like that, yet they do. So Braves fans, if you're watching this, please keep engaging with my content. It really helps me out. So maybe I'll just keep rage baiting you a little bit here and there. An update on the dead ball situation that I was talking about in the last episode. Right after I filmed that episode, Andrew McCutchen came out and said, yeah, you know, what's going on with these balls? It's not just me, right? And then MLB said, oh, well, every ball is hand stitched, and we've seen a lot of them, I guess, with raised seams this year. The seams are a little higher. They're sticking out a little more off the ball than they usually do, and it's creating a little bit of drag on the balls. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. That makes sense I'm not a scientist, but from a scientific standpoint. But their only explanation as to why that's happening is because all the balls are hand stitched and there could be some discrepancy. And I just find that reasoning a little suspect. But even between episodes, we've seen a few examples across baseball of these balls. Like I said, Pete hit that one that Acuna made a great catch on. And we were all like, how did that not go? And then Cody Bellinger, during the Yankees' similarly awful 6-game losing streak, hit one in the bottom of extra innings that would have won the game. He hit it to the short porch. It looked like he absolutely cranked it, and it died and got caught at the track. And I'm like, I thought that would have been a home run anywhere, but especially at Yankee Stadium with the short porch. And it just at the very end, and that was the end of the game, I think. So we have a little more information on that situation. Not much. They said they're going to try to remedy it, and who knows, but I'm not blaming the Mets' offensive woes on the dead balls, but it's definitely not helping. But it's not helping any team, so I guess it all ends up being fair. The Mets go up to Philadelphia for 3 games this weekend. Not a single game will be broadcast on SNY, which is always very sad. But as for my predictions for this series, I mean, what can I say? If this is what the pitching is now, and the Mets continue to not be able to hit, especially with runners in scoring position, still, if their approach is still trash, then what am I going to predict except for the Mets are going to get swept again? I mean, they need to pick it up. They need to figure it out. So, I don't know. I always say, 2 out of 3 is great. Just got to win every series. I'm just hoping they win a game at this point because they look so off and they just look out of sorts. So that's not really a great prediction segment because like I said, I don't know what to predict. They look bad. I'm not sure yet if I'll be around to record an episode of the podcast after the Phillies series, so I might just have to see you guys after the Phillies and the next Braves series at home. So let's all hope for the best. Let's all think good, positive thoughts. Let's go Mets. Let's win some games, please. Let's win some games. Bye.